Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Adam Burke from BangTheBook.com, coming in with a look at Game 503-504 in the NBA playoffs, Eastern Conference Finals Game 4. Milwaukee Bucks, a 3-point favorite, total of 217.5 against the Toronto Raptors. We got a preview for this game over at BangTheBook.com. Make sure you head on over there and check that out. While you're there, check out my preview for this week's Charles Schwab Challenge, this week's PGA Tour event. Also, you can check out my MLB picks and tips piece for today. Over 5,000 words on the Major League Baseball card, including 5 recommended wagers. So head on over there and check that out. While you're here on our Bang the Book YouTube page, I've got a preview or a video pick, for Game 6 between the Sharks and Blues. Also, you can check out my edition of the Bettors Box from yesterday, my MLB betting podcast. Later on today, we'll get some videos from Brian Blessing, likely with a look at the Charles Schwab Challenge. Then also this week, we'll be taking a look at some more of those NFL season win total odds that have been posted out in Las Vegas. All right, Game 503-504, Game 4, Bucks and Raptors. Very interesting to see where this line is now. The Raptors were a 2.5-point favorite for Game 3, came away with that double overtime victory. Now here in Game 4, the Bucks a 3-point favorite. So an interesting adjustment there. And of course, we'll talk about that as this video goes along. But also interesting here is the quicker turnaround. We had some time between Games 1 and 2 out in Milwaukee, but here we've got just that one day off on Monday to get back in the swing of things after that double overtime game. And I have to think that plays a little bit of a role in the adjustment to the line here, as Kawhi Leonard played 52 minutes, Pascal Siakam played 51. Kyle Lowry did fall out early on in that game, was limited to 32 minutes, So he's got the fresh legs, but as we all know, not really a great playoff performer, as we've seen over the last few years for the Raptors. Now, that quick turnaround, again, could be a little bit of a factor with Kawhi Leonard hobbled at times in Game 3. This game did open Bucks -2. It has been bet up to Bucks -3. And look, the Bucks have been phenomenal off of a loss this year. 22-1 straight up, plus 15 points per game in point differential in those situations off a loss. 19-4 in those 23 games against the spread, plus 7.2 points per game above that number. So they've been very, very good at bouncing back. And really that's been kind of a key here in this series in general, is that the Bucks have played very, very well in the second halves of games in this series. In Game 1, they outscored the Raptors 57-41. In Game 2, they were outscored 61-60. But the Bucks were up 25 points at halftime with a 64-39 lead, and they outscored the Raptors 45-38 over the third and fourth quarters in Game 3. Did wind up losing that game in overtime, obviously. Giannis fouling out. Kawhi just kind of took over that game in the extra periods. But the Bucks have played very, very good in the second halves of these games. I think it's a really important factor to consider for tonight's game, because the Bucks don't really have to panic. They're still up 2-1. As they say, you're not in trouble in a playoff series until you lose at home. They haven't done that. They're still going to have home court advantage if this becomes a best of 3. For the Raptors, though, they took advantage of a very poor effort from a lot of Bucks players in Game 3. The starters from Milwaukee were 19 of 69 from the floor, 27.5%. Giannis was terrible from the field in Game 3. You wouldn't expect that to be the case here again in Game 4. Yeah, Kawhi was great. Kawhi was great on the defensive end in Game 3. 88.9 defensive rating with him on the floor. 113.4 defensive rating without him on the floor in Game 4. Obviously, some sample size bias in that because he played 52 minutes in that game. But you kind of wonder for Kawhi here, going all out with the 52 minutes in Game 3, can he bring the same defensive intensity to Game 4 that he's brought over the course of this series? I don't know if that's necessarily the case. I don't know if they can rely on Kyle Lowry. And again, for the Bucks, a lot of guys struggled. And 27.5% from the field for their starters. Malcolm Brogdon was great off the bench. You worry a little bit about him with 37 minutes, forced to play a lot there, not having played very much over the previous little while. But I still think that Mike Budenholzer makes adjustments. Giannis is going to make adjustments. I don't know how much is left in the tank for the Raptors after that emotional double overtime win where, look, everything went right for them. Giannis fouling out, the starters not shooting the ball well, Kawhi just making every shot imaginable. The only thing that was a downside for the Raptors in Game 3 is that Kyle Lowry fell out. And quite frankly, with his playoff performances, that may have been a benefit for them. So I like the Bucks tonight minus the 3, but what I like a little bit more here in this game, and obviously we'll see how the first half plays out, Bucks in the second half. They've been a second half team in this series. They played very well in the third and fourth quarters. And I think that you get that big initial push from Toronto in front of the home fans, trying to build off that momentum of Game 3. All the Bucks have to do here is weather the storm in the first half, make their adjustments, and they should be golden in the second half. So while I like the Bucks minus 3 for the full game, I look for a Bucks second half price as the best way to bet Game 4 of the Eastern Conference playoffs in the NBA. I'm Adam Burke for Bang the Book.